Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm so excited you're here. And because you're here today, I know that you are someone who's interested in learning more about Ashtanga Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga teachers around the world. Today, I'm joined by Amy Kokoszka. She's not only a yoga practitioner, but an Ashtanga Yoga teacher whose path has been shaped by rich cultural influences and a profound connection to the natural world. In our conversation, we're exploring Amy's journey through various traditions of yoga from Sivananda to Hatha to Ashtanga, but also how her personal practice and understanding of yoga and spirituality has evolved to honor not only the wisdom of her body as she ages and moves through different stages of life, but also her work with empowering other women through circles and story to help them also tap into their own healing potential and bringing women together in ways where they can share their stories and share with one another and empower one another along their path. So Amy's approach to her personal practice and to what she's sharing with women draws on the ancient feminine wisdom about creating spaces where women can reconnect not only with their wild nature, which is something she believes is essential for genuine empowerment in today's world, but also can connect deeply with one another. So I think you're going to love this inspiring conversation about reclaiming your feminine power, the importance of community, and how yoga becomes not just a practice, but a true ritual in remembering, a tool for clearing the body so the soul can speak. Let's get started. Welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm your host, Harmony, and I am here with Russell Case. Hello, Russell.
Good morning.
I think you have to talk louder into the mic.
You want me to talk louder into the mic?
Yes. We are joined today by our beautiful guest,
Amy Kokoszka, who is a Polish-Canadian woman currently living in Ireland, is going to talk to us about her life story, which I'm very eager to hear. You said ci mówi panu po polsku, no nie rozumiem, she said.
You know what? I know how to say I love you. And I know how to say...
Oh, moja kocham się. Oh.
I know how to say a few curse words because I used to work in my grandfather's bakery. He had a bakery. And I would hear them cursing when the bread was overbaked or somebody did it wrong. So I can curse in Polish, which I won't do right now. And my goddaughter is Polish.
Oh.
And she taught me how to say I love you 100 times. And I never remember how to say it. But I'll probably remember it during this. So we'll if it comes to me, I'm just going to randomly say
Kocham
Shem. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
that's it.
I lived in Chicago for some time. And when you enter the city, you get a license. You also get a Polish wife. That's just, you sign up, you do the two at the same time, and they pass you your Polish female or male, depending on your gender, of course. And for the non-gendered, you just get a Polak. You just get a basket of pierogis. Yeah. So.
And gołąbki.
And so I'm wondering, besides the Polish component, what was it that took you to Australia? What drew you there? I mean, not Australia. Oh my God. What took you to Ireland? What drew you there?
What took her Polish forebears to Canada, Harm? You got to go
No, we're not going all that way back.
You got to go all the way back, though.
No, we're going to be here for hours and we don't have that kind of time.
Cape Breton, you said. Now, how did your parents come to Cape Breton?
Okay, it's funny. I was having this conversation today about there's a German girl who's recently come to stay with me for a few weeks, and she's German. Her parents are German. Her grandparents were German. On and on and on, and I was saying how it was really hard for me to relate to that, because I come from Cape Breton Island. You're in Calgary, so Canadians are the melting pot of a melting pot. Yeah, and so my Polishness. Yeah, I was also saying that Polishness sort of you kind of dive into the father's culture probably more than the mother's. It's just habitual. Maybe from that era, from that time that we grew up over 40 some years ago that way.
Yeah.
But my mother's mother was from Ireland. The lineage was from there, and I ended up it brought me here because I went to do a Hatha. I went to do karma yoga in Sivananda ashram in Valmorin in Montreal. I left school. I had made some big butterfly wings to go and protest. There was a world forum. There was a world summit, and we were all going to protest. I remember that. And I made these huge butterfly wings, and my professor at the time told me that that he would throw me out of, he would fail me. And I said that was fine because I was going to go live in an ashram. That was fine. But yeah, that doesn't really answer your question. Anyway, the point is I met an Irish woman in this ashram, and we became best friends. And she asked me, like you do in your early, I think I was 20, 21. And she asked me if I wanted to come to Ireland and live in Ireland. And I said, yeah, I want to come. And then I just didn't. And then I would leave. I would come and back, and I would leave. And it was almost like, how you go and you travel somewhere, and you, instead of returning to Canada, I kept coming back to Ireland because I had family, and it was really easy to work, and it was just it just worked for me. I don't know. It worked for me. But the point is, I'm not just Polish. And I think, yeah, I feel that really strongly, and I feel it much stronger now. Mm-hmm. But I do like my last name. I think it's pretty cool.
Kokoszka.
Kokoszka. I like the way you say it too, Ross.
When I was 20, actually, Oskar Kokoszka was one of my favorite painters. I loved his deep, ever-present blacks. And
he's a very dark artist, isn't he? Yeah. I was hoping I was related to him, but I'm not. I don't think. Do you know Kokoszka, what it means?
No,
the meaning of it is little chicken, I've been told, in the Slavic world. And in most of the Slavic world, whether it's Ukrainian or Polish or in some form of, it's translated as chicken or little chicken. And so we must have come from chicken farmers somewhere along the line.
Could be like a term of endearment. My little Kokoszka.
Yeah, like my Polish fiance called me Głuptasek, which is a kind of little stupid boy. So
this is not your Polish fiance.
No, she's not Polish whatsoever. I've had several.
Oh, this is another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also 20 some odd years ago.
I was always ready to commit right away. So yeah, that's part of why I was probably called Little Stupid Boy.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's a horrible nickname.
It was terrible, wasn't it? And she was anti-Semitic, and she didn't know that I was Jewish. And when she finally started out with the anti-Semitisms, I was like, we're already engaged, and you didn't know that I was Jewish? But Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. Yeah,
well, it's probably because I say Jesus Christ all the time.
Maybe. But the Polish women are tough. Like, especially the Polish women I know they say what they want to say when they want to say it. And you're just... Yeah. My mother was not Polish. My mother was really gentle. She was such a kind, she is such a kind, soft, like very I'm sure there's lots of kind, soft, lovely Polish mothers out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What did your parents do in Cape Breton? Were they fishermen?
My mom was a school teacher. My father was an engineer, but he lost his job and went and worked in my grandfather's bakery, and then he got contracts or whatever. But we were, from the time I was 12, I was in that bakery making bread.
Wow.
Yeah, making bread, or, at the cash register with my grandmother, or, doing something in the business, in the bakery business. So, but yeah, that's another long, sad story that the business is no longer. And yeah.
And so you found yourself adrift and out in the world in Ireland.
Well,
Yeah,
seeking refuge in the ashram, in the Sivananda ashram. So yoga must have drawn you already while you were in Canada.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember it was my aunt who showed me a few asanas once long ago. She's 20 years older than me. And I was in university, the university I was not thrown out of, I failed that year. I did go back and get a degree and do all the right things. I did do the right things. But at that time, in that university, there was a woman teaching yoga, just, in one of these little halls, and she had this long blondie white hair. She was really old, and her partner would come, and she'd come into the room and turn off all the lights, and there was one candle in the middle of the room, and I think maybe there was 5 of us, and I had a complete epiphany in a shoulder stand, and I it was like I could feel I could feel all the places I was so stuck in. Like I could feel how my spine changed. It was just a moment of complete clarity that whatever this was, I had to figure out how to do more of it. I never thought, it wasn't like a sought out, like, oh, I want to be a yoga teacher. And that's over almost 30 years ago. So it was really the first time that everything lined up in my brain. And I thought to myself, you haven't been wrong about who you were. And now you can feel it. And it's a little painful, but let's go feel it some more. And that's how I ended up in Balmoral, because I went to her and I said, I just want to do this all day, every day. Where do I go? And she said, go to an ashram. She said she had done Hatha yoga through Sivananda. She said, go there and you can be a karma yogi. And that's what I did. I went there for 4 months, for 4 or 5 months. I can't remember. It's so long ago. And then there was a teacher training coming up, and they offered me to stay on and help out at the training and get my certificate. And I was like, this is a good deal. I'm just going to stay and do it. And that's where I met my Irish friend who invited me to come to Ireland. And that's how it all started to fall into, like, to do its thing, how life does its thing, right?
Yeah. Well, how did you get introduced to Ashtanga yoga? Because that's sort of your main practice now, isn't it?
Yeah. This is a little embarrassing.
Oh, go on.
I kind of I was debating, like, should I tell this story? But I really have to tell this story. I actually have to say it, because, like, who doesn't want to hear the truth? And Susanna Finocchi, do you know Susanna Finocchi?
Yeah, we know Susanna well.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm in Ireland, blah, blah, blah. I end up going to Kathmandu, to Nepal, through somebody I'd met in Ireland, traveling at one point. After a year and a half, saved up, went to Nepal. And when I was there, I met a Danish man and moved to Copenhagen to be with him, and was looking for yoga. And I remember, like, calling around to the different studios thinking, I could also teach yoga. I might, might call around, see if I get some work teaching. That would be good. Because I was just teaching Hatha yoga, and I was just like that. I didn't know that there was all sorts of different styles. Isn't that shamefully embarrassing? But it's also my dyslexic brain, and I think it's fine. It's the way it was at the time. And I remember calling Susanna up and just saying, yeah, well, maybe I could come and work there.
Oh dear.
Anyway, she just laughed at me. We have such a, I love that woman, and she loves me. Like, I know she does. Sorry. Hi, Susanna, if you're watching it, or if you're not, whatever. She probably, I don't know. But she just loved me, and she took me in, and she just took me through all of primary. She kept me in the side room first.
And she paid you to do that.
She paid me to do that. And then
well, what was your like impression when you came to your first class? I mean, obviously she was sort of like, well, come and take some classes and see how you go.
She was doing a half lead, and I did half lead, and I was like, when she did Utthita Hasta Padangustasana, I was like, wow, like
it's impossible.
How is she doing that? And like that with that sort of clarity, and how did she do it so effortlessly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like she was so graceful about it and so beautiful about it. And she just one day, you know, half primary was too full, and she just looked at me and she's like, go in the Mysore room, you know, like I was like,
nice. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that was in 2006. Yeah. And then I went to Mysore. She said I should go to Mysore, so I did that. And I went to Mysore, and Patabi was sick at the time, so I was in the Shala with Sharat. And I mean, that's how the Ashtanga thing happened. And then I met then I heard about David Griggs being the rebel of Ashtanga Yoga.
One of many.
One of many now that I'm realizing. Yeah. And I was like, because my zing for it sort of, I was like losing my, I don't know, it was just something about it. It was too something. But anyway, so I went to him and
too rigid maybe, or too confining. What were you feeling that was sort of like you were interested in learning something a little different?
I don't know if it was my personality that I couldn't stay. Something wasn't keeping my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And also I was back and forth from Canada. I was 3 months there, 3 months in Canada due to visa. And I had to go back. I had to work. I was in school. So, but it just didn't seem to, I don't know why. It was there, but it wasn't, I didn't have a self practice with Ashtanga. I had a Hatha practice. I had a regular practice, but I didn't have that, you know, when a teacher goes, go and do primary for 2 years and then come back to me. Go and do your intermediate for 2, and then you come back to me. You know, like I needed somebody to sort of like kick my butt a bit. And that, you know, I went to David, and, you know, I was doing my thing in it, and he was just like, just go and do that consistently and don't stop. Do it alone, you know, do your self practice and then come back to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that's what I did. And that time alone, and that, yeah, as you know, that just that feeling of you got to get up and you have to do the whole thing. And I remember having to like egg myself on, going, okay, I mean, you know, just do the next posture. Like, okay, you stop, but just do the next one. And finally you're at Navasana and you're like, just finish it. Like you're pretty much done. Like, come on, let's like, and that's how I had to talk myself through it. And sometimes it's effortless, as you know, and sometimes it's not, but I'm really glad that Ashtanga gave me that. And it Ashtanga turns people into athletes, it feels like. And I don't want to take the spirituality out of it, but it turns it into, it's so disciplined. And it really teaches you about, like, we're meant to be cleaning the body. That's the purpose of what we're doing. We're there to show up and clear ourselves so we can follow the path. And I think, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to be controversial, but I'm sure you have had a lot of controversial people here. The body is, you know, the the body is the rocket launcher for the soul, as Clarissa Pinkola Estes always says. So like, why we always think that the soul is the one guiding us, but like, what if the body's the one guiding the soul to do its work? And I really believe that, because that's my personal experience. I show up better as a human being when I do it that way. I think you agree. When you have your self practice, whatever that looks like, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of I mean, I don't know. I think one isn't necessarily need to be prioritized over the other. I think there's like a relationship of co-creation. You know, they definitely work in a feedback loop in a sense, right? Where you know, because otherwise you can look at people, say, like Mother Teresa, or
there are many saints who cannot do handstands.
Yeah, Ramana Maharshi, or right, and their bodies weren't really their priority, but service and soul was their priority.
And I get that, and I think it could it be constitution of the person? Could it be personal circumstance of your ability to contribute? Like, all those things factor in it. And I totally agree. You're right, because, you know, I agree with that. But I think, as for my personality, it works really well for me to just like push that energy through to be able to show up.
But there's another great example for you is Lance Armstrong, the cyclist. Disgraced cyclist. They were doing a documentary on him recently, and even he's in his dotage now, I think, you know, in his 50s, and they found out that they couldn't get results from him that worked for everyone's satisfaction unless he'd had an opportunity to work out for 3 hours. It was just not going to work. They had to plan it so that he did his 3-hour workout, and then they interviewed him, and it was just such a much better experience for everyone. And it's just, you wouldn't have that exchange with Mother Teresa. Like, she wouldn't need that kind of workout.
Absolutely.
So people are quite different, you know. So that's I think that's just the long and short of it.
That's the long and short of it. We're different. We're really different. And but I think when I lost my ability to be physical, like when I went through menopause, perimenopause, or whatever the hell whatever that, there was a year that felt like I didn't know what was happening. And I remember walking upstairs and hearing my knees cracking, and my back was sore, and my partner was rolling me out of bed. And like, mind you, we had moved and lots of things had happened, but there was a period where I found being physical was just not an option. Like, or the way I was being physical wasn't working for me anymore.
Can we talk about that a little bit more in depth? Because I really sympathize with that position quite a lot, is really needing to exercise to feel grounded and to feel sane. And then realizing that I had worked too hard and my back was not going to support me being able to exercise the way that I'd chosen. And I look at professional athletes, and I look at the resources that they have, and thinking, well, that's really what would be really helpful is if I was making, you know, like LeBron James, if I was making $40 million a year doing this,
having ice baths
and
personal physio,
and he spends like $300,000 to $500,000 a year to reduce heat in his body so that he's ready to play 82 games a year plus the playoffs. And then, like, that amount of resources where I wouldn't have to teach, and I wouldn't have to do anything to make money.
But you could still teach as long as you were making $500,000 or more a
Well,
year.
no, the teaching really takes a lot out of you. And so if you can remove that just to focus on the practice and live in in conditions where there are no other stressors, and then also have ice baths and 4-hour meditations and a lot of sleep and rest, then I think all of that pain would have gone away from me.
Hmm.
And so I'm just wondering if maybe the pain that you were experiencing in your back was maybe connected to the stress in your life.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was during COVID. So my business closed because COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
I had kept it open for a year and a half, financing it, but it was a physical premise,
Mm-hmm.
And when that closed, also the apartment I was living in had been sold, so we had to move. So it was like the building, I renovated the room to open up so you could have the 6 meter distancing. And the month that I'd taken to renovate it, the very next month, they put us back into this lockdown again.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt like I kept getting knocked. And I eventually
Yeah.
just decided, you know what, I need to close the business. It needs to finish. And at the same time, I started having heavier symptoms of perimenopause. And I know some women don't experience symptoms. And I know that they're also probably stress induced. So I think the stress of it affected my hormones and my ability. I'm producing so much cortisol. I'm going through this huge transition. My body really responded very poorly. We're moving. And yeah, I didn't have the resources at the time. In fact, I think I curled up and I laid on a wool mat that my partner had gotten me for Christmas. And I laid on it for a good 6 months, just doing like restorative yoga and like reading and sleeping and eating and trying to find my way back to my body, really.
And
And
letting the heat leave the body is what
maybe letting the heat leave the body. So yeah, it was it was very challenging. It was a really like, I'm surprised that I'm here. That's how challenging, it felt to
But
me at the time.
it sounds like, I mean, as challenging as it was, like mentally and emotionally, it sounds like it was also exactly what your body needed at the time.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. It was exactly what my body needed. But then once we moved, I moved from Dublin and I moved 4 hours down to the southwest of Ireland. When I got here, and my knees were cracking from all the box moving and all of the transition, I was like, I need to weight train. I need to not just get up and do a practice. I need to like get strong. And like, I had the craving and I had thought about it for years. But then I joined a gym and I started weightlifting 3 to 4 times. My mother had come to Ireland to visit me a couple of years ago, and she goes to the gym. And so I thought, well, this is a great time because she's coming and she likes to go to her gym. My mother's 80 and she lifts weights 4 days a week.
That's good. That's amazing.
She doesn't do, she's not a mega lifter, but she likes to feel strong. And I like that she's aware of needing that. She was never athletic as a young woman. So this was a really great way for her to find this. So I went with her, and it really changed my practice. Like the simplest Trikonasana was painful, moving to the side. The simplest postures were hurting my body. I couldn't figure it out. And I didn't know that I was losing muscle the way that I was until I lifted weights and figured out. Now, I'm not your typical person in the gym. I don't walk in and like deadlift and have like the right, like I look out of place. I am out of place. It looks like a mobility workout slash lifting something slash I'm inventing things all the time. But that's the beauty about Ashtanga. It gives us that so much self-awareness in our physical bodies. Like we're so good at finding out what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I there's no way that I could have gone into that gym and fixed my back the way that I did without that, without the practice of Ashtanga. There's not a chance. I would have went in and did it all wrong. I know that. I would have followed what they tell you to do, which I think it works for some people, but it wouldn't have worked for me, because I also have spondylolisthesis, like, and I have a bulging fifth vertebrae, so drop backs and all that, super challenging without strong legs, like
It's true.
not gonna happen. And I was completely out of touch with that, and now it's a game changer for me. I'm not saying everybody go out and deadlift 60 kilos three days a week, but it might help.
I think a lot of women, I mean, the science that I've, read around perimenopause and menopause and aging, especially as women, but also even as men, is that we do start to lose muscle mass rapidly as we're aging. And I mean, even the weight gain and all of the issues that come up for women hormonally because of, these changes can be, I guess, like curbed or rerouted or changed through building muscle mass and toning and being aware that your body actually needs more protein, more muscle, and like consciously making those efforts to do that, which is something, as you're saying, in your 20s, you don't necessarily need to think about because your body's like young and spry, and maybe it's more, you're interested in
recover.
Flexibility, and you're recovering a lot faster and not losing muscle mass, right? At the same rate as you are as you're aging. And so I think there's definitely something that you're saying there. And also I'm suspecting that you're pretty hypermobile, which
I am.
Yeah, which I think is another thing. Like often yoga practitioners, especially women who are hypermobile, they just go into their flexibility, into their mobility without ever thinking, oh, I should get strong. It's really about flexibility, right?
Yeah, I was always overdoing it.
Yeah,
always.
And you get encouraged to kind of overdo it and praised for overdoing it because you have this hypermobility. Rather than creating the strength that's going to protect the joints and create stability in your body and in your practice. And so I think that's also a huge game changer if you are hypermobile, especially as you're aging. I think a lot of women come up against the like pain because you can't just keep going into your joints the same way without stabilizing, without creating some muscle mass to protect the joints, because that's what the muscles do.
I think there's something like a really interesting dynamic going on in this conversation, and I'm reminded of the controversy around Rolfing in Gokulam in 2005. I don't know if you've ever been Rolfed.
I've been Rolfed once.
Okay,
such a funny verb.
little uncomfortable, I'm sure. I've done a lot of Rolfing, and I was really very passionate about the effects it had, the modality that it had on my body in particular. There were things that were wound down, that unraveled and filled and released, that I was really very encouraged by. And I remember having not violent conversations, but really, really aggressive conversations with my fellow practitioners about whether or not Rolfing is allowed in Ashtanga yoga, and that there was an orthodoxy at that time that you just do the practice. You don't do anything else. You don't go walking or running or weightlifting. or you don't take massage. You just do the practice. On Saturday, you take a oil bath and you rest the rest of the time. And any other kind of deviation from the center was like a direct slap to the face to your one single teacher. And so that was a real thing. And so what I started telling people was like, look, it's not that I'm a deviant or a Jew, it's that I've got a dirty dish and you put it in the dishwasher, and the Ashtanga yoga is the dishwasher. But it's not unhelpful to give it a little scrub first before putting it in the dishwasher. And Rolfing was that little scrub just to fix the dish before putting it in the dishwasher. And so once I allowed for Rolfing, that opens up a Pandora's box of modalities that you can try if it's going to help you manage your life. And you can call that doing your Ashtanga yoga practice, or you could just, being a normal person. But you can try transpersonal holistic therapies. You can try going up to that ashram that to do pranayama, that whatever that was with Goenkaji. You can do
Vipassana.
You can do Vipassana. You can do weightlifting. You can do golf. Golf is really interesting way to practice your yoga in a safe environment. And there's all sorts of things that you can try once you allow for any slight deviation from the norm. If you're going to take massage, you're in direct violation of the orthodoxy. If you're going to what other sorts of things could you possibly do that you would be in violation of orthodoxy?
Learning from any other teacher other than
even taking a class with Jayashri is a break from the orthodoxy. You're supposed to be with Lakshmi now, so that's a break from, and anything that she says is not going to be in line with orthodoxy. And so I think that's really at the core of our conversation is that's what's at stake, is are you a deviant or not?
Yeah, well, I am.
Yeah.
I am, and I but the thing about that is that I don't purposely mean to be, and I don't think real deviants do. But as you describe it, I would definitely put myself in that category. I don't really give a.
Yeah. Nor should you.
Nor should I.
My mother listens to this podcast. No, I'm kidding.
What's her name? And it's not that I abnormally might not give a fuck what people think. Because this is my path. Like this is my life.
Yeah.
And I've always, for me, it's a very magical experience that we get to have if we're lucky. And I know that there are self-responsibilities that the world thinks we should be doing, but there's really more of a personal responsibility, I think, that we should be doing that we avoid. And I think by putting things in a box, and then we lose that ability, don't we, to really show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like allowing yourself to respond to what you need rather than trying to fit into a box that might not be actually for your best, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I like that story that you just shared with us about getting into violent conversations about Rolfing. It surprises me. It makes me giggle a little. were they between men? Were men and men having those conversations?
Yeah.
I don't know why I want to say that. I don't even know why that's coming up. But I think about the reason I'm saying that is, let's see if I can make myself clear. Everybody has such a different life, like such a different story. I mean, not all of us get married and not all of us have children. I'm one of those people. And I think there are a lot more of me than there are of what people think it should be like. And I think it's really important that we learn to talk about that, talk about those diverse stories and lifestyles and how we got there and how we practice Ashtanga differently. But then how do we not lose, like, if somebody took a posture at a primary lead, I'd be pretty sad. Well, except, yeah, okay, well, maybe I wouldn't be that sad. But the point is, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for structure. There's a reason for discipline. There's a fine line for everything. We're not going to, but then who decides?
Yeah.
So that there's an answer, like who decides?
The Sushumna is the ultimate guru, is what the Upanishads say. And so any other guru besides your own central channel,
Sushumna,
is as a violator of your personal sovereignty.
There you go.
I'm curious because you've also studied like women. The book, it's the book, right? Women, is it Women Who Run with Wolves, or is it just Women and Wolves?
Clarissa Pinkolas does, but I didn't study it. I've just read it 50,000 times, and
I think that classifies as studying.
I think it does too. I didn't go to school. I didn't, I'd love to go and study with her. I know she puts on, very intense workshops once every 2 years. So let's see if that ever happens. But she's in her 80s anyway.
It's interesting because there's sort of like a bit of a cultish following around this book. But I'm curious what it brought into your understanding of what we're even speaking to, like how we're all unique and have these different stories, and how story helps us to maybe understand ourselves more in the world.
I was thinking about this in the shower. As I didn't use soap on my body. You're going to like this story. Just hold tight. Now, I had come from the sea. I went for a long walk this morning and I jumped in the sea, and it's 6 degrees. It's pretty cold. And I was getting in the shower. I'm like, why would I use soap? I'm just going to rinse myself off. Let's see if I can keep this all on the thread of that question. The point was, we're overdoing everything. We're overdoing everything. Like, overwashing, over trying, over being, overdoing, over eating, over just, it's just this excess of, and I think a lot of sorry, back to your question. Let's say, I knew I was going to get sidetracked. The book and how that related. There's a simplicity, I think, in our lives that we forget about so often. It reminded me of being, I was in the shower. I'm not going to use soap. I'm just going to stand here in the warm water, and my skin doesn't need it. I don't need it. I feel really bad. I see a lot of women overwashing them. I don't know why I'm repeating this, but something about it. It's like, why are we washing our hair every second day? Why are we lathering ourselves in these like scents and things and deodorants and all of this stuff that like we of course we need to be clean, and we need to smell decent for our students, and we need to not scare anybody. I understand that, but I just, it's not answering the question about the book, but it was something that I wanted to say, that I feel like women are overcomplicating their lives with stuff
that they have to do.
Yeah. All the fucking time. Like, it's nonsense. yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
And it's a waste of time.
Well, how do we
I
get
think
back to a simpler existence and still make enough money to, pay a mortgage and our cell phone bill and our
oh, you can't
We
Wi-Fi
pay
see
a
usage?
mortgage. Oh,
homeownership.
you can't. Just forget it.
Homeownership is a crime in the first place, and so
I mean, because like at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to that.
No,
well,
and I don't.
I own a home, but I'm not subject to relentless criticism of how I look and dress.
Well, no, I mean
Mm.
that's added on top for women,
No,
of
I think that's
course.
the core agony for women is the relentless criticism.
That we put on ourselves, the bottom line is you asked me about the book. I think what I want to say about it is that women are afraid to say their real story. They feel ashamed. They're
Mhm.
carrying so much blame when they've forgotten that we've been taught these things. This isn't, you weren't born thinking these things, being this way. You did have an innate experience. Your soul does have its own
Mhm.
path, but I think a lot of the things that we end up conforming to within ourselves or within the world, it's just been a taught thing. And this goes for men as well, obviously. I'm not saying this is just about women. The book is Women Who Run with the Wolves, but we could just like cover that part of it.
Take the woo out.
It's the same, it's the same thing. I don't know what the question was. Can we? I'm messing up on this part of it, but that's okay. Let's try it again.
Well,
Ask me the question.
yeah, like how has this book and the stories within this book kind of helped you to reframe your relationship with yourself or to your practice, or helped even the women or students that you work with?
The first, the first line in the book? Would you like me to tell you the first line of the
Yeah.
book? Do you know the first line of the book? Have you ever read the book? Either of you?
I have it, but I've never read it.
What? It's the first line is wild.
Okay.
I'm not.
I might have read the first line.
Wildlife, like wild women, are becoming extinct. So she's focusing on the wild woman archetypes. We have all these archetypes, but it's the wild, instinctual woman within, that she describes. And maybe I relate to her. Maybe my life has naturally went that was the path that I went. Maybe that's why I like the book. That's why I think women should read it when they get lost, when they feel lack of creativity, when they, when they're struggling. It's a great resource. I'm not saying it's the only resource. It's just one that I find to be extremely helpful with everything except cooking. There's no recipes in it. Sorry, I'm trying to make a joke. I'm diverting from my.
Well, what do you think? I mean, it's curious to me because I feel like the Ashtanga yoga practice is the antithesis of wildness. So how do you marry these two together?
But it's so punk.
It's not, though. I think it is wild. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't. It is wild. Look at the postures. Look at what it's asking you to do and show up. It's being wild means you have to challenge everything that's being presented to you. You cannot. You have to trust yourself in every single asana. You have to trust that you know how you're going to do it. In every step you take in life, you have to trust that it's coming from you, not from, what's that? There's a great line that says, if you want good advice, don't listen to nobody, nobody's going to give you good advice. You have to, the good advice is something that you have to sit and find. It's the same with the asana, isn't it? People are going to adjust you. You're going to be adjusted. You're going to be given advice. And that's beautiful. That's what these teachers are for. That's what you're there to do. But ultimately, that posture that you struggle with when you sit alone, you're going to take all that information from all the that your teacher's teaching you, and one day a light will come on with it. I'm sure you've had that, haven't you? Where else?
Yeah, I think it depends on how you practice, though.
Okay,
And
well,
like
maybe
who
it's
your
just
teacher is too.
maybe it's
I
me.
think there's a lot of factors in there.
Yeah, maybe it's me. Sorry.
Some teachers, I think, cultivate more of an environment of self-reliance and encouraging exploration and listening to your own inner wisdom. And I think other teachers cultivate an environment of dependency and taking away your power and listen to me. I have
Yeah,
the answers.
yeah. And I don't like that.
Yeah, but it's again, it's sort of like that the soul and the body, right? It kind of depends on your yeah, the environment that you're in maybe or your tendencies to trust in yourself. I think the practice can give you that, and for you it sounds like it's definitely given you that. And
Yes,
for
but
others maybe it takes that away a little bit. I don't know.
yeah, you're totally that's correct. But I also think it's true. Like, you need a teacher to be there and go, don't even think of it. Don't do that. We're going to do this way. Like, don't, Amy. No, I've been told no many times. And thank God for them to do. Like, I'm so grateful that they did that. And because we need that. There's an example from the book, where she talks about the little pups leave the den, and the mother knows it's extremely dangerous, and she goes out, and she knows that she can't just like nuzzle them in and go, there's danger over there, don't go out. She like grabs them by her teeth and slams them into the den and like, don't leave the den. Duh. And they don't get it, but they don't leave. And yeah, I've had to be thrown back into the den by a teacher for sure. So there is that relatability. And I don't, I think it's, but I'll say this. I would never be where I was without the teachers that I had. Definitely not. I have to say, very grateful to, Susanna, to David, to Sarah Hatcher, who has helped me through third series. But ultimately, I think when you have an injury, or if you have I think you need to, for me, this is for me, with my injury, with my back injury that happened over 28 years ago, I didn't feel like anybody understood it. So I had to take the time to understand it.
Yeah.
And I kept asking my teachers, like, what do I do? And, like, nobody can answer that for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to the doctors and you can get the advice and you can get the x-rays and they can show you your fifth lumbar's out and you can do all the things. But how do you actually feel better in your body? How do you feel? But how do you do a drop back again? How do you do that? How do you do? You're not going to go to the back specialist and go, I want to do a drop back. They're like, just don't do that. Yeah, but I'm not going to listen to you. How do I do it? Because that's not how I'm not going that way. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. So tell me how to do it right. But he can't tell me. Like, it's going to take all of the years of the teacher's experience that have been gifted to me, all my teachers, and then my gift to myself to get on the mat and like then explore it. So I'm not saying the wildness is alone. It's not. We need the grounded one. We need all of the different aspects. It's just the one that fascinates me because I feel like a lot of women are stuck in thinking it should be a certain way, and it shouldn't, and nor should your practice.
There's another kind of really wonderful dynamic that we're kind of talking about, and that's this binary thinking, and you've got Richard would use the example of a 0 and a 1, and let's say for the purposes of this conversation, like you've got 0 of like pure intuitive wildness, and you just lead your life that way, like a Taoist master. Or then you have the pure Confucian disciplined person who lives their life through a structure of relationships and everything being proper.
Yeah.
So you've got the 0 and a 1. So one person is following the orthodoxy exactly, and the other person is just in a woods somewhere trying to figure out themselves and the Ashtanga yoga practice, or just how to live. But the hard part, the really confusing, difficult part, which is so, you can see it so obviously in our press and our media and in the public conversation, is how to be in the middle path, which is so deeply complicated, so deeply nuanced between the 0 and the 1. How do you live your life there in the middle path when things really require deep reflection and conversation between people, when no one feels that they have time for that bullshit?
Yeah, all of that.
So do you, when you're working with your students in your groups, how do you encourage this exploration, and how would I become an untamed practitioner?
Oh God, did I put that in there? Jeez. I think I used AI to help me. I was like, I don't want to fill out this anyway. Honestly, I can say this. I think you probably do the same thing. You walk into a room, you read the room, you see how people are responding, you respond to their response, don't you, as a teacher? You don't, I don't have a way. There's no way. It's just like allowing people to be who they are and seeing if I can offer enough of my own, like if I can offer enough space that they trust themselves enough to go into it, but also enough push that they don't back down, This is, you're playing a game with all this, not a game, you're dancing all the time in a room. So I'm not teaching so much. I'm teaching 1 primary lead a month. That's all I do when it comes to Ashtanga, and I have my own practice. The other times I'm going and I'm doing workshops, and we do a really strong, I don't know if you know David Elliott.
I feel like I've heard this name.
He does this really, really beautiful breath work. And I kind of took the way that he did his breath work and I added a few retentions to it and my own little stuff. There's something magical about pranayama. There's something magical about breath work. It really gets people into the moment, into their body, into thinking about or being in experiences that they might have just tried to avoid or didn't realize we're stuck or whatever it is. The breath work is pretty powerful. Then we have these conversations, and I use some prompting from the book. But ultimately, I want women to be able to feel safe enough in a room. And I haven't worked with men, and I'm not because I don't want to, but like I'm not. My experience has been as a woman walking around, so I feel far more comfortable holding a circle or space for women. But there's always that exceptional man that walks in the circle and can be there, like we're experiencing right now in this moment.
Oh. Oh goodness.
He's very in touch with his female side.
It's the erectile dysfunction. That's probably what it is.
What did you say? It's what?
It's the erectile dysfunction. That's what puts me in touch with my female side.
Yes.
I want to
come on this podcast more often.
It wants to go in reverse, is what I read, and that's what we're talking about. Is the reverse of an erection. Yeah.
Did that just happen? Are we still recording? Did you pause
we are
that?
not going to delete that. Thank you very much.
Bree's gonna clip it out and make an audiogram for you.
Whoa, okay, we're going beyond the scope. Anyway, as far as the AI untamed practitioner, I really didn't know what the hell to call myself because it's a very hard thing to say anything. Look, other than I have a lot of self-practice, discipline that way. I haven't lived a normal life. None of us have. This book is fascinating. I'd like to take people through it. I think it's very powerful. It's not because I think when women and when humans get to tell their real story, just like this podcast, then it allows them to live more fully. Like they own there's more of an ownership of what has happened and what has gone on. There's a dropping of fear and shame and acceptance. Not that everybody needs that. These are all fluffy words, and I really fucking hate fluffy. I do love the word F word, but since we're saying erections on this, it's probably okay that I curse. I hope your mother's not going to be too offended.
She has the worst mouth ever, so she won't be offended at all.
Okay.
She just likes the attention.
Oh, okay. Me too. That's what. So it's okay.
Beautiful. So if someone wanted to explore this book with you, how can they find you? Do you have like a book club or a group that people can join and come in and learn more?
Right now, we're just doing once a month in-person workshops in Dublin and Cork and Ennis, so in 3 separate cities here. I've talked about doing something online, but I find it really, especially when you're integrating strong breath work, I feel like you really have to be present with people. So I've had a lot of hesitation about taking it online, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about. They can find it all on my website. It's there in detail.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And hayokayoga.org is your website, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Heyoka.
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 What does it mean?
Oh God. the whole story. Heyoka is a Native American word, but typically spelled with an E instead of an A. And it's the trickster. So the one that walks backwards or lives a life differently. I love your big eyes when I say that. Even though I need glasses, I can see your facial response to me saying that. When I was 17 years old, my aunt gave me that name when we were out in the Rockies one day, and she was like, "You're like a Heyoka, Amy." And I don't know, I just took it on. But I've always been told, even by Native people, you have to be very careful with that name because it is a
sacred name.
Yeah, it's not to be taken lightly or used lightly. I suppose
like
we all get a spiritual name, like Beetlejuice. Yeah, okay. There you go. Okay, nailed it.
Yeah,
it's like Beetlejuice. You can only believe what you can believe. I don't want to appropriate anything. It meant something to me, and I felt really attached to it. And I suppose I feel very drawn to Native American teachings. I'm sure you do as well. Beautiful. The way they see the world. Yeah. Yeah. I love the way they see the earth, the way they see the world, the way they interact, the way they, or their teachings do, I think it's pretty powerful.
Very much so. I think in Canada too, we have there's a deep sort of reverence for the people of the land who were here before we were, our ancestors.
Did we put our land acknowledgement in before the episode?
We can do it.
We should. So it's a requirement in Canada.
It is a requirement in Canada, but only for public gatherings.
This is a public.
Well, this is like a private conversation, but
it's very public,
and it's not really held in a
There are some words
public
in
space.
This conversation that we wouldn't say publicly. And you started it. Not me.
I'm actually extraordinarily shameless, but I would love to attend your Hey Yoko Yoga in Dublin and Cork, and that would be fantastic. And
my women's circles.
Women's circles. That would be so nice if I'd be.
It's not a women's circles. That's also quite cheesy as well. It's not a women's circle. It's much more than that. It really is. It's really, yeah, it really is. There's also a couple of retreats, and I do a lot of juicing. I really love juicing, but it's all there. I mean,
okay.
It was just nice to chat about it.
Yeah. Well, we were thrilled to have you on, and I love your story and your insights. And it was, I felt like this was a really fun conversation.
I think if people don't take their placenta and juice it, they're really not trying hard enough.
Talk about untamed.
Love it. I can't believe I used that word, untamed practice.
The untaming.
Bye, everybody.
The untaming of Amy Kokoszka. That would be the title of the episode.
Oh, God.
Love it.
Why not? Let's just do it. Whatever.
Just own it. Embrace it. AI knows. AI is the way forward. So
geez.
You can be the untamed lady from now on.
Okay. Let's do it. Whatever.
Dziękuję, Stara. Cześć. And
Cześć.
Next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me here so I could chat to your people.
It was wonderful to have you on. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And if you're ready to understand how you work best in the world, discover your spiritual entrepreneur archetype. I've created this most amazing quiz. It's free for you, and it's going to give you the key that unlocks your ability to attract your ideal clients and create a business that truly resonates with your soul. After taking the quiz, get ready to receive your Archetype Branding Inspiration Kit. It's going to help elevate your business and your branding to the next level. Maybe you're wondering, what is a spiritual entrepreneur? Well, a spiritual entrepreneur is someone who feels called to use their unique skills, talents, and knowledge to serve and uplift others. Sound familiar? I think it might be you. Typically, yoga teachers, healers, coaches are in the realm of the spiritual entrepreneur. You're living your dharma. You're walking a path and leading others towards their own path of personal growth and development. So, if you're ready to align your soul with your business goals and align your business with your true purpose so that you can attract more of the people that you're here on this planet to serve, then be sure to head on over to my Spiritual Entrepreneur Archetype Quiz. It is so much fun, and you are going to get so many little gems as a result of taking this quiz. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.